I'm going to start in a weird place, but can we talk about your mom? Your mom, Ivana Trump, because that story just really jumped out at me. She's kind of the unsung hero of the Trump family, of course, because your dad's so famous and so powerful. But you all seem to have really been close with your mom, and I didn't realize that you were the first one over to her townhome after she had died after a fall down the stairs.
So, Megyn, I think you're the first person that read this book outside of a very, very close circle. And I mean like 3 people. And so this is actually probably the first time I'm telling that story. I got pretty granular and I got pretty raw in terms of our family. I'm beyond the point of holding back on certain things. But my mom was an amazing woman. I mean, Olympic skier, a runway model. I mean, she was on the cover of every single, whether it's Esquire 100 times, Vogue 100 times. I mean, you name it. She was, I mean, they were the ultimate power couple in the world, and she was an amazing woman. But man, was she tough, and in a good way. I mean, we got out of line as a kid. She would grab you by the neck, her long fake nails, so you go into your neck, and you would get a beating. And it was the best thing that ever happened to us. I say that in the most affectionate way, but I mean, she would keep her very type A kids, as you can probably tell from who we are, and she kept them in line and taught us manners and work ethic and responsibility. And she fell to alcoholism, and it's not something that we've spent a whole lot of time talking about. But it's my father was always that guy: no drinking, no drugs, no smoking. I talk about that in the book, but he was always, But we saw that firsthand with my mom. She had a drinking problem at the later stages of her life, and I found her dead in her townhome, and cleaned up the entire mess. And but she was an amazing woman. I mean, she was truly, I mean, she had all the European kind of glamour, but came in and America was her home. I mean, and she had no tolerance for people who didn't do it the right way. She loved America, and she was the best of America, and
you tell a story
amazing
about
woman.
Your high school graduation. Can you repeat that? It's so funny. She had another engagement that she really wanted to go to. This made me laugh because we're in such a parachute mollycoddling phase of American parenthood. And people always look at your family and say, how did all those kids turn out so well with all that money and fame? Like, usually those kids go wayward. You guys didn't. And I actually think your mom gets a lot of the credit for just not being totally drunk on the wine that the children were producing.
Oh, no question. She was tough, and she kept us in line. I mean, she absolutely kept us in line. And she showed us the whole world. I mean, she really did. She was but she also made us work. But yeah, it was my high school graduation. I called her up. I was at boarding school. I called her up on 1-800-COLLECT. I'll never forget this. And I go, Mom, here are the dates for my graduation. Mark it in the Rolodex. Put it in the calendar. And she goes, hold on 1 second. That's a Monte Carlo Grand Prix. Now, if you're European, that's like the Super Bowl and Augusta and everything else combined into one, right? Like, that's like the holy grail. That's MLB, that's NBA, and everything combined into one. Every European loves the Monte Carlo Grand Prix. And she goes, honey, that's Monte Carlo Grand Prix. I go, Mom, it's my graduation. And her exact line was, Eric, every effing, but she used the real word, every effing moron graduates from high school, get over it. And she never came to my high school graduation. But yet, Megyn, this was a woman that adored me, right? Like this wasn't like a broken household where my mom didn't love me to death. But it's like,
you knew she loved you.
Now, just so you know, I could have been graduating with a doctorate degree from MIT and not high school, right? And she probably would have used the exact same thing. Every effing moron, graduates from MIT with a doctorate degree, but same result. But she was an amazing woman. She was a powerhouse, really, really good at real estate. She was kind of the, certainly the right-hand person to everything that my father did, early in the career. And my father loves her. I mean, he loves her. And I'll never forget, I think I mentioned the story in the book, but every single day, you'd have Anderson Cooper go knock on her townhouse door. They wanted Ivana Trump to say anything negative about Donald Trump in the first campaign. This was in 2016. And she just flipped them off. She gave them zero time of day, and she loved my father. And then finally, one day, she opened up the door. And, Ivana, we want an interview. We want to know everything about Donald Trump. How do you think he's going to be as a president? And she said something so funny that made my father laugh. She goes, terrible husband, but man, will that guy be the greatest president in the entire world. You watch, you mark my words. And it was such like an Ivana Trump type quote, just so
it's classic,
so honest. And that's how I wrote the book. I mean, maybe this is the first time I've ever really thought about it, but maybe it was a lot of that free spirit that she had where she just said what was ever on her mind. That's exactly how I approach this book. I did not mince words. It's going to ruffle a lot of feathers, I think. You'll be the first one to attest to that when it comes out. And also beyond that, I'm getting probably deeper than I should. It was actually a very cathartic process, given that the absolute hell that they put us through.
I know, because when you're going through it, the shells are coming down upon you. You just have to keep going. You have to just survive. And it's almost like you're kind of still there because your dad's currently president. But the lawfare's over, and like the impeachments are over, and, God willing, the assassination attempts have passed. And so maybe it was the perfect time to just take a deep breath, exhale, and take stock of where you are at this point in your young life. Like, you've been through a lot. Even without your dad running for president, you could have written a very interesting memoir. You were writing about the helicopter rides to Atlantic City with all these famous celebrities when you were a kid. I mean, Trump was king of the world before he was president of the United States, and you had a front row seat. You were part of it.
Yeah, then I had a front row seat, and that he sat me down in November of 2016, and I was 33 years old. He goes, Eric, I want you to take over the empire. I want you to take over the company. You've built all our buildings. You've managed all our teams. I want you to head it off. And I go, this is amazing, right? I'll continue to build our hotels. I'll continue to build the golf courses, the residential buildings, commercial buildings. I have real estate in my DNA. I get into a lot of the stories in the book, obviously, about growing up on construction sites starting at 11. And Megyn, never did I realize that 90% of my time was going to be, keeping the animals off of our back. I mean, when I got that call from, the New York Times, Washington Post, Eric, there are secret servers in the basement of Trump Tower communicating with the Kremlin. I literally started laughing. I go, you got to be kidding me. They perpetrated that hoax. I go, first of all, we're like cloud-based computing, right? So first of all, we don't really even have servers. Second of all, you don't put servers in basements because basements flood. Like, let's get to the basics. Third of all, I'm like, why don't you come over to Trump Tower? I'll walk into any basement in Trump Tower, and they'll be impeccable because I'm a very anal retentive person, but you're not going to find any servers. I mean, it was all a made-up hoax, and they allowed that to perpetrate for years and years. But again, because I didn't have constitutional protections, I wasn't in the executive branch, I became the piñata to the full force of the Letitia Jameses, as ironic as that is that we're talking about this the day after. And, every single one of those, I was getting a subpoena every single day. I was sitting in a deposition every single day. I became the most subpoenaed person in American history. I spent $400 million defending from just totally insane attacks, i.e., having servers communicating with Putin, which was nuts, right? And all the attacks from Hillary and everything else. And I remember being in the courthouse with my father. I never left his side, Megyn. Every single day he was in the court in downtown New York, I was next to him. And I remember when they read off those 34 felony convictions, and he stood up, he turned around, we shook hands, we walked out proudly, and we were in the car. And I say this in the book. He said, honey, I don't know how. It was the lowest moment of all of them, right? I don't know how, but somehow we're going to win this. And he didn't just mean the court case. He meant the entire presidency. And I looked at him, I go, Dad, it's either the White House or it's 2 jail cells for us, right? Because that's what they wanted. And having never done anything wrong, I've never gotten so much as a speeding ticket, right? It was either the White House or they were going to throw us in jail. And that's the story of Under Siege. But they weren't just doing it to our family. They were doing it to the entire country. When they were weaponizing the IRS against religious institutions, against pastors, against churches, when they were deplatforming people, when they were debanking people, when they were taking people off of Facebook and Instagram and turning down their voices and violating their First Amendment right, when they were passing up really good, capable people for jobs because of DEI hires, where people's careers were totally set back. They were coming after all of us. They were coming after not just our family. We might have been the tip of the spear, but they were coming after Megyn. They came after you. They came after every network that you ever worked on or worked for. They came after your employees. They came after your friends. Why? Because you were allowed independent voice that they otherwise couldn't control.
How about sending the FBI into church meetings and trying to sick them on parents at school board meetings? I mean, the weaponization while Joe Biden was president was truly unprecedented. They want to say that word about your dad and his administration now, unprecedented. No, it's what is happening to Tish James is far from unprecedented. It's exactly precedented, and it wasn't that too long ago that we don't all remember it. Just rounding back to growing up as your dad's son and how real estate is in your DNA, I learned a lot about you in this book. I did not know about Frank Sanzo. I love the story about how you and your dad first saw this guy. Can you tell that story?
We were driving in his Rolls Royce through Bedford, New York, an area you probably know, and I'll never forget. My father's Rolls Royce, and we're going to one of our properties, and he sees this lone, stonemason on the side of the road, and he pulls over and he goes, Eric, that's the most beautiful, wall I've ever seen, and he pulls up next to the guy and he goes, hi, my name is Donald Trump, and the guy obviously knew who he was. He goes, that's the most incredible stone wall. And we're sitting there talking, about, masonry and bluestone versus granite versus, a brownstone, et cetera, et cetera. And finally, my father goes, I want to give you all my work. You're amazing. You're so talented. I want to give you my work. So Frank came into our life. And, I worked for Frank every single summer. And this guy, it was Marlboro Reds and it was pots of coffee. And he would literally, Megyn, I say this in the book, he would mock you if you wore gloves, right? As you're doing stonework, like, you're laying patios. And this isn't like marble. Like, this isn't like tile work. This is like serious stonework.
Rough.
And if you were wearing gloves, he would mock you. At the end of the day, he'd give you a couple drops of olive oil because olive oil could cure everything. It would cure cancer. It would cure every problem. But just this hard Italian guy who was amazing. And I grew up working for him every single summer. And construction is in my DNA. And many of the guys that I worked for back then still work for me today. And it's an amazing family. It's an amazing community. It's an amazing, company. And, he was a very special guy in our life.
Little did you know that you were going to need that tough skin in more ways than one, right? New York real estate is that's not for softies. But presidential politics, as they always say, it's not beanbag. And we've heard this story a bit before, but can you talk a bit about how your dad, when he called the whole family together before the first run and had the meeting and said, this is the moment we're going to find out who our real friends are?
He called me and he goes, honey, get the kids. We were on the 25th floor of Trump Tower. He was on the 26th floor. He goes, get the kids, come up to the office. So I bring up Ivanka and Don and then he looks at us and he goes, kids, I'm going to do this. And then he said, let's do this, right? And that was everything, Megyn, we had done together, right? Whether it's the real estate world, the golf world, the hotel world, the residential buildings. Obviously, I was on 7 seasons of The Apprentice. And he goes, let's do this. And we didn't know a damn thing about politics. In fact, you come into the story in a meaningful way because I never forget getting a call from my father.
I read this.
I never forget getting a call from my father, and he goes, honey, Megan's going to kill me on the immigration comments or something. He's like, I need somebody who's going to defend me on the show tonight, right? And I go, Pops, I don't know a damn thing about, I know nothing about immigration in America. I built hotels, right? What the hell do I know about immigration? We hardly knew what a delegate was. We hardly knew what a caucus was, let alone, freaking anything. And I remember I was debating on your show. I think there were a couple of illegal immigrants on the thing. I was like the center box, and if you want to talk about faking it until you make it, I think it was my first experience in politics with you, Megyn, and we've built a great friendship ever since. But I just never forget that, and we did it as a family. And normally the first rule of politics is keep your family the hell out of politics, right? And hey, they certainly didn't let Hunter up on that stage, and I think for a reason. And what a wild ride. But as he was coming,
and did you find out who your friends were?
Yeah, at the end of that statement, he said, you know what? We're going to find out who our true friends are. And they are going to come after us so viciously, you have no idea. And we found out who our true friends were.
Buy gold and get free silver. That's right. For every $5,000 purchased from Birch Gold Group this month in advance of Veterans Day, they will send you a free patriotic silver round that commemorates the Gadsden and American flags. It's like the Cornelius purchase of gold. Silver and gold all together. Thanks to Birch Gold. Look, gold is up over 40% since the beginning of this year, and Birch Gold can help you own it by converting an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. Plus, they will send you free silver honoring our veterans on qualifying purchases. And if you are current or former military, Birch Gold has a special offer just for you. They're waiving custodial fees for the first year on investments of any amount. With an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers, consider diversifying your savings into gold. Text MK to the number 989898 for a free info kit and to claim your eligibility for free silver with qualifying purchases. Before the end of the month. Do it before the end of the month. Again, text MK to 989898. Message and data rates may apply. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.